Good morning, everyone. This time it's not a false alarm. This time I'm actually ready to get started here. We really want to make sure that we're remaining prompt just because we respect all of your time. And thank you so much. So welcome to the new Inclusive Economy Business to Business Roadshow. Thank you so much for coming here this morning. Yes, thank you. So just so you know, I'm not some random guy in a wheelchair just sitting up here. My name's Marco Pasqua, and I'm a local business owner here in Surrey. I've run my business as an inspirational speaker and accessibility consultant for 11 years now. So that goes to show you the enrichment of the economy that we're seeing here, especially in Surrey, and the opportunities that are available for people, especially if they're self-driven and they've been given really the right opportunities. So just some housekeeping for you all. If you haven't done so already, please feel free to grab yourself some incredible food, snacks, that kind of thing. If you have any accessibility concerns that aren't currently being met, if you do have them at all, you can raise your hand, and I'm assuming that a member of the staff that's here can come over and support you in any ways. If you're wondering about washrooms, so washrooms are actually just out of the exits at the back of the room here, and I believe just down to the right, if I'm not mistaken. If you do require an accessible or universal washroom, there is actually one available in the lobby space, which is really great. So the food, in case you're wondering, who's enjoyed the food so far and the snacks this morning? Absolutely. So the wonderful food here today is being provided by Food Service Assistant Certificate Project for persons with disabilities, which includes 16 weeks of food service occupational specific skills training through on-the-job work experience. So thank you so much to the students and to everyone involved in that program. Great, and to my right, I have Jamie Wilson here, who's doing the ASL interpretation today. So let's give a big shout out and thank you to Jamie. Now, of course, we don't want to kick off this event today without giving our acknowledgement, and so I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that we're on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Coast Salish people. Specifically where we are, it's the Katsi, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, Coquitlam, Kaykat, and Tawasin First Nations. So for myself, I'd like to pay my respects to elders, both past and present. Absolutely. So, with regards to today's event, you may be wondering what we're doing here. So the new Inclusive Economy is a BC-wide research project that is identifying workplace practices and conditions that lead to disability inclusion at work. And I have to tell you, for myself, this is really, really important. This is not just a job title. I know I mentioned that I do some accessibility consultation work or consultant work. For me, this is a way of life. If I wasn't given an opportunity early in my career to show what I was capable of, I would never have had the faith in myself to believe that I could be an entrepreneur. And so those early stage moments where you have an opportunity as an entrepreneur to say to somebody that I see the real you, and I want to bring your whole self to work, regardless of any abilities or disability, that's something that's super important here in our community. And what we're doing is we're not just creating jobs, we're increasing the quality of life for people with disabilities to know that they can do this for themselves. That level of independence is something that I can't describe in a number of minutes here up in front of the stage. But I can tell you, for me, when I had the opportunity to be part of a co-op program when I was in high school and really express myself in a unique way as a person with a disability and be seen by my managers as somebody who's able to contribute to that work, people with disabilities see things differently depending on their perspectives. And those challenges are not challenges, they can actually be assets in the community. Because you see things differently and you're not doing things the way that they're normally or usually been done, there's a real opportunity to share that different perspective and change the way that people look at how we describe what is a disability. So personally for me, that's what I see that we're doing here today. And I think that it's really, really important that we recognize that. Now, what you can expect from today's session is that we're going to hear from local champions of inclusive employment, and we're actually going to have the opportunity at the end to ask them some questions. So feel free to ask those questions. I'm in so many times, I'm in these environments where people are like, I don't want to ask anything inappropriate. As far as I'm concerned, there is no silly question. If you're here and you want to learn and educate yourself more about what you can do to be more inclusive, now is the time to ask when you have a captive audience of employers that are actually out there doing it. If we could bring up the map of BC here, I believe it's slide 3, about the Business to Business Roadshow. So it starts here today in Surrey, and actually it continues on in 8 other cities across BC. So as far south as Victoria and as far north as Fort St. John. And the hope is to engage with employers who aspire to be more inclusive and address some of their labor force challenges through becoming more inclusive employers. So you can really see that there has been sort of gaps in the market, or I think what I've heard as an accessibility consultant, one of the biggest concerns is retention of employees. But obviously, when there's an untapped talent pool of people with disabilities that are out there, that are hungry, that are ready to work with the right guidance and the right training, you can help to fill some of those gaps. It's also important today that we recognize the co-hosts who were able to put on today's event, right? So we have some organizations today that are helping to co-host. So the Surrey Downtown Business Association, the South Surrey and White Rock Chamber of Commerce, and the Surrey Board of Trade. And so we're going to leave the majority of today's presentations and sharing to those local champions for them to be able to share their experiences and what that is like for them as these organizations are striving forward in their journey towards inclusion. And so with that, great segue to a great friend of mine, Mr. Bill Brooks, who's the Chamber's board president, as well as managing director of BEC Entertainment. So Bill, if you want to come up and say a few words, that'd be great.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing so far? Good? Marco and I go back a number of years. We were in business together, weren't we? Yeah, so I'm told. The Minister of Forest is here with us. Minister Ralston, welcome. Good to see you. Where do I start? On behalf of the Chamber, we're very pleased to be supporting the roadshow, and we're very happy that we can join you this morning. I have my colleague Marissa, who's with the Chamber as well. She's membership and events and things like that. If you're not if you live down in South Surrey and you or White Rock and you want to take out a membership, see her this morning. Okay. On a serious note, I grew up in a household with a disability brother, younger by about 8 years, and I know what it's like for parents to go through that whole thing, let alone older siblings. But he overcame. He found himself being able to get a job in an area that made sense for him and his ability, but it also stretched his ability so that he could fit into that job. And you know what? He lasted at that position with Weston's back in Ontario. He retired. He was there for 35 years, and that's quite an accomplishment because I can't keep a job. I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but we're here to learn, we're here to share, we're here to hear, and I'm going to do that right now. So thank you for coming. Thanks for everyone who has put the roadshow together for us. And over to you, Marco. Do you want me to introduce the our? Yeah.
Oh,
good. Thank you.
See, former business partner, he's already trying to take my job, right? That's okay, that's totally fine.
50-50.
That's right, 50-50 ownership, there we go. So yeah, with that, it's my pleasure to now introduce our next speaker from the Surrey Board of Trade, and that's Moise Babar, who's the Business Development and Member Relations Specialist at the Surrey Board of Trade. So thanks, Moise.
Everyone, how's everyone doing this morning? Thanks so much for the introduction. I'm Moise Babar. I'm with the Surrey Board of Trade. The Surrey Board of Trade is thrilled to be a co-host of this morning's new Inclusive Economy Roadshow. In Surrey, it's an event series for BC businesses in BC who aspire to be disability inclusive. This is an important economic initiative as part of the Surrey Board of Trade's workforce development portfolio that will capture alternative economic approaches to inclusive employment and explore how employers recruit and retain people with disabilities. Anita Huberman, our president and CEO, who could not be here today, represents the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, over 200,000 businesses in Canada, as the co-chair of Canada's Disability Inclusion Council, with Paul Clark of TD Bank in Toronto, and their work with federal employment, workforce development, and disability inclusion minister, Carla Qualtrough. Their nationwide work will enable impactful change in businesses, especially small to medium-sized businesses, to hire persons with disabilities. The Surrey Board of Trade is pleased with the BC government and released the first Surrey Workforce Strategy in 2019 to 2029. The workforce advocacy to instigate change, along with Surrey's own labor market intelligence report, which is released every 2 months, serves as an important economic anchor to the inclusion conversation that we are engaging in this morning. We look forward to hearing the business leaders today. We are here together to continue to impact change, to ensure that everyone in this economy matters. And I'd like to take a moment also to mention, from the personal side of things, from a very young age, I grew up with some very dear family members that had physical impairments. And I myself, coming from a third world country at a very young age, feel very blessed that I'm in Canada. And this is because in some parts of the world, actually in most parts of the world, access for people with disabilities is incredibly challenging. And one of my family members who has passed away many, many years ago did not have the same opportunities. And although we're very fortunate in Canada to be living in such an important economy where it is incredibly inclusive, the work is just beginning. And since that close family member, I've had other family members with disabilities that are not physically visible, what they call invisible disabilities. And spending time with these family members, I understand the compassion, the conversations, the understanding that's necessary to truly hear how their day-to-day can be challenging in ways that we cannot imagine. And so personally speaking, I think it's really important that we're having these conversations today and making sure that our economy is incredibly inclusive, making sure that voices are being heard, and that the business community, whether it's small to medium enterprises, larger corporations, are able to accommodate in a more inclusive way, but also in a way that's more impactful, that meets training needs with abilities, and ensuring that we don't just focus on the things that we're not able to do, but enhance and focus on the things that strengthen us the most. And in this way, we can truly shine and individually contribute to the economy in Canada. Thank you.
Wow, extremely well said at the end there, and I couldn't agree more. I think that it takes each and every one of us to raise our voice, regardless of any kind of job titles that we might have. It's really up to us to really create these opportunities and showcase that we can make this happen with an open mind. One of the things I think I've noticed as somebody who's been in the space for a while is the biggest barrier that we experience is the attitudinal barriers. That's the very first entry barrier. The idea that somebody can't do something simply because what may be evident of seeing that they have some form of physical disability or even invisible disabilities. And I think we need to change the story around that, as I said earlier, to an asset. Now, this quote is fantastic. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Now, this quote by Verna Myers exactly describes our next speaker, who I'm going to invite up here, Seema's relationship with her work and why she's passionate about working with people to lead towards impactful change. Now, for you, just for your information, Seema's obtained a master's degree in social work and is now the Director of Employment Innovation Services at UNITI, where she and her team continuously work towards finding creative and innovative solutions for empowering the people that they support to live inclusive and full lives. And so with that, I would like to invite Seema Tripathi to the stage from UNITI. Thanks so much, Seema.
Marco, for that lovely introduction. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all having a good time so far. I'm really happy, excited, and honored to be here as a part of the Business to Business Roadshow with Inclusive Economies. And thanks, Lenny and your team, for having us all participate here. As Marco said, we are from UNITI. And I do have my UNITI team and family here, guys, all of y'all. Right? So at UNITI, and with UNITI, I'm the director, as Marco said, of Employment and Innovative Services, and employment does come under my portfolio. UNITI is all about inclusion. And generally, when it comes to us sort of agencies, it's all about community inclusion. But we totally believe that community inclusion is not complete without economic inclusion. It is a big part. And then employment is the lifeline to economic inclusion. So we are all about employment, and a lot of us agencies, and I feel that a few of us are in this room, we know what we do. We are supposed to be getting jobs. But I think what is really important and what has really been important to my team is, what is it that we really need to do? What do we need to really focus on? What are the things? We know that we're supposed to match people with jobs, but what is it that we really need to be doing creatively? Where are those gaps? How are we filling those gaps? How are we really making business? How are we doing smart business? And so we have always been trying to enhance our inclusive practices. And of course, by doing that, we wanted to enhance the employment rates within our sector. So the two things which my team really, really focuses on, and I say my team because I'm just standing here and talking, they're the ones who are doing the real jobs out there. So we really think that our employers, and I'm having the honor of having some employers with me today, is that they are the most crucial element of this equation. And if not more, we do need to us agencies need to pay equal attention to our employers, right? As we're paying attention to the people who want jobs, we really need to pay equal attention to our employers. And as for one of the slides, Lenny, you had shared, 52% of employers have said that the support which they get from the employment partner agencies is what has really benefited them. And that is it, bingo. That is exactly what we need to do. And to be able to do that, we really need to focus on the relationships we are having with our employers. How are we engaging our employers? How are we actually supporting them to create inclusive practices and make them do the work easier and make it a big success? And I think so that's the win-win model. Another one thing which we did at our department was, again, looking at the gaps. Why are things not happening? We have had employers coming up, hey, we are ready to hire. And then the most overrated term we have always used about, we did have that untapped labor pool. Then what was happening? Why were we not getting people jobs? Because the employers wanted skill-ready people. They wanted people to hit the ground running. And that is the need of the labor market. The labor market has predicted that. COVID had emerging priorities which said that this really needs to happen. So we said, let's do that. So we focused on, of course, there was a lot of research and hard work which went into it. We focused on creating some very specific skill building opportunities for the people we support. And at that time, we focused on our foods industry. And that is how, with the help of some of our community partners like PICS, Raj is here, and WCC, we created the Food Service Assistant Certificate Program. Right now, the breakfast which was served by you, as Marco had said, is the third cohort of this program who has been doing this. And we have 50% successful employment rate so far. So I think, give a big round of applause to this. So these are the things which we have tried to do, and I really don't want to get all to the other things which we all agencies always keep trying to do. But as I said, that the two things which we really focused on is going to be actually represented by our next set of speakers. Am I introducing them, right, Marco? Right. Yeah. So I have the opportunity of having employers and the employees, who are, again, a big part of our employment group, which is WISE, which is Working Innovative Solutions for Employment, and I would have got into trouble if I wouldn't have mentioned WISE today. So I do need to mention WISE. And they have been successful in really focusing on those two things, which I said, the relationship building with employers and the skill building. And today we have with us Garnet from PartyWorks. Garnet, can you please come on? We have Vishesh, who works with PartyWorks, and Garnet, Vishesh. And then we have Ronak from Bandara Cafe. I'm quite sure some of you all must have visited Bandara Cafe. And of course, last but not the least, we have Herman, who works at Bandara Cafe. Garnet works for PartyWorks Interactive, and he's been the leading person, and it's an event service company. So if you guys, I'm plugging in for them as well. If you need an event, and connect with Garnet. And they have been specializing in interactive games in Canada Western Canada since 1990. And Garnet, he really values what he does. He really values about how he runs his business. He has really valued about how he works with us as an agency, and has always provided outstanding service and expertise. He caters to a lot of events all over: carnival, casinos, community corporates, dry grad events, and has an immense inventory from old-fashioned arcade grades to the latest state-of-the-art technology, sort of virtual reality games. And he directly even works with manufacturers. Along with Garnet, Garnet is the testimonial to the relationship we have been able to develop as an employer and as an employment service agency. And then we also have Vishesh. So Ronak, I'm not going to be partial, but I'm going to be partial here, actually, because Ronak works for Bandara Cafe, Bandara is a place in Bombay, in India, right? And I come from Bombay, too. So that's my special thing. And so if you all have visited Bandara Cafe, it's all about the street delicacies of Bombay, which we call Mumbai now. I'm still used to it. Do you still call Mumbai or Bombay? Yeah, I call it Bombay. Yeah, so we call it Bombay because we are from that era of Bombay. So that's why I love, so if you ever want to taste that, please go to Bandara Cafe. And he comes from Bombay, and he comes from the very prestigious institute, the Catering Institute in Bombay. And he's worked with the Taj Group of hotels, which is again a very prestigious hotel group in India. And he's polished his talents and knowledge. He also worked in States. And then just this morning, actually, Ronak shared with me that he actually worked for Fraser Health too. But then he said, I really wanted to be creative. So he formed the Bandara Cafe. And he really gives back to the community in many, many ways. And he provides hot meals, he donates to religious institutions, and he supports youth communities and, of course, hiring. So again, Ronak had the opportunity to visit our food service program while I think so it was the second cohort, and that's from where he decided to make some hires. So today, to go on, I will actually be asking some questions, and we'll have some conversations. And of course, you all are most, as Marco said, in the end, you all can ask tons and tons of questions. And we want that to happen, right, guys? Yes, we want that to happen, right? So thanks, Garnet. A simple question. Why do you work with WISE?
Well, working with WISE Employment Solutions give us another option of being able to hire staff. In our business, we're a seasonal business, so we have tons of students we need to hire each year as the weather is good for us. So they've opened our eyes up to just different ways of finding staff. Our relationship has been more like a partnership because they know what we're looking for. They have an idea of what type of people we need. So yeah, the relationship has been really good for us.
Awesome. So you did touch upon relationship, right? And we all know that that's a key, which we are really focusing on. What do you value most in this relationship you have with my employment specialist?
Well, it's the people at WISE. I met Anirudh 3 years ago, and we've been working together ever since. And he has just our best interest in mind. Anirudh's colleagues that we work with have the exact same plan that Anirudh has, trying to find us people that'll work well with us. So, again, I think it's just been a great collaboration for the last 3 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You are going to be listening to the name Anirudh a couple of times today. Anirudh is the Senior Program Coordinator. Anirudh, where are you? There he is, yes. So he does a lot of the work. So yes, Anirudh, thank you. I see that you have hired Vishesh, and you had hired a couple of other people who have moved on to get other jobs. But what does Vishesh bring to the table that has a positive impact on your business?
Well, I got to say, he's a great addition to our team. Everything we've asked him to do, he's done, and got to point out his impeccable punctuality. He is never late. And if he's even close to being late, he has a great excuse. And I keep saying to him, well, you're not late though. But he's been really, really asset to our team. And, it's been great. And we're planning to move ahead and get him out doing events and being more proactive.
Absolutely. Vishesh is special. By the way, the meaning of his name is special. So that's what Vishesh is. Yeah. So, Garnet, I know I'm not going to keep asking you many questions, but I do have one last question for you. How has hiring people with disabilities a smart business?
Well, I don't really look at it hiring somebody with a disability. I look at hiring somebody with a unique skill set so we can accommodate their disability so that we can make them productive part of our workforce, right? I think given the opportunity in the right environment, there's a lot of employers that really, really could benefit from hiring people with disabilities. And like I said, Vishesh is the perfect example right here.
Thank you very much. Vishesh, are you ready to answer a few things? Sure. Yeah, good. So, what are you most proud of today?
Okay, so I'm proud of getting the job at PartyWorks, more confidence, being able to work independent, teamwork, and sense of achievement.
Bang on. How did Garnet and Wise support you in fulfilling your employment dreams? So before you answer this question, he's relentless, Vishesh. He was already working at Home Depot. No, I want to do this, and you got to get me a job. And what are you guys doing? You have to do this. So that's what Vishesh is all about. So tell us, are your employment dreams fulfilled?
So having a welcome environment, everyone is always helpful, accommodating, dating, and threw me surprises lunch for birthdays, introduction me to the new task, and easy communication and discussing my views, thoughts.
Thank you so much, Vishesh. I know he's a bit nervous. But, start having a candid conversation with Vishesh, and he'll come up with so many stories, right? So Ronak, thank you again for being here. I know Ronak has very late nights. I was just chatting with him. He says he never gets home before midnight, and on a weekend, it's like way past 1 o'clock. So this is a very early morning for him. So Ronak, how did you get associated with WISE?
So, good morning, everybody. So, with WISE, Seema and Anirudh came to the cafe one day, and they had a meal with us, and they invited us to Roundup Cafe. And then we went to Roundup, where we saw a facility being run by, with this FSAP program. And the chef was training these employees to actually enter the labor market. So we had a little tour of the kitchen, right? And I saw how they were working and everything. I was really impressed, because it's just something that that people are already trained to come into the kitchen to work, and this training is already going on, and it was really amazing. And then I worked with Anirudh, right? What has happened is given us a chance to tap into a labor market that is actually untapped. It's very hard to find skilled labor, especially with the kind of environment the kitchen is or restaurant is, very fast-paced. So somebody who has a little idea of that is very important to come into the restaurant. What I liked with you guys was the honesty, the integrity, the patience that you have, with your, with the staff or with the employers. It's amazing, and that's the reason, we connected with you guys. And you're from Bombay, so it was.
Yeah. I made that Bombay.
And another too.
The relationship, yeah, right. So, what do you think of the, when, I must say that when I first met Ronak, and the moment he said he's from Bombay and his partner is also from Bombay, oh my God, we just broke up into do you cook this? Do you make this? I want to eat this, and and we went on, right? So, Ronak, what do you think are the benefits of getting employees who are skill trained?
Right. So the benefit is that there is a skill gap that I think that void is being filled by the training that you provide before the employee comes to work. Right. Mm-hmm. They have like a food safe. They have a basic knowledge of how to handle food and how to handle hygiene and cleanliness, and these are the things. These are the skills that are taught before they come to work, and I think that's great. So that that you can bypass that, and they can just get on to work quickly. That's a great thing, right?
Awesome. So Ronak had hired two of our individuals, Herman and Hannah. Hannah is not here today. So what values do you think Herman and Hannah have brought to your business?
Right. Yeah. So Hannah's not here today, but when Hannah was hired and Herman, right? I saw that. So first with Hannah, right? She comes from a different cultural background. Mm-hmm. She is from the Philippines, and we are an Indian restaurant. So first thing was for her to learn the menu, right? It is quite a challenge, and she picked it up so well that after with the initial training, she used to handle our takeout orders, our Skip, Uber, and DoorDash orders. She used to take it off the system, put it into and pack it up and give it to the drivers. And she was handling that herself. That was amazing. And I was really proud of her. Mm-hmm. And with Herman, right, Herman is, he is very particular. Like you see how he dresses. He's the model of our restaurant. So he comes in all nicely dressed up, always on time. Like punctuality is total on point. It's very organized. So Herman is in charge of all the inventory and stock keeping of the restaurant. So if I can't find something, I have to call Herman if he's not there. Herman, I can't find this. Where is this? And then he'll tell me this over there. And then so he's so organized. And the thing that they brought to the restaurant. So when he came in first, like people thought that he's special needs or whatever. But now he's like he's like a part of the team, and it doesn't even reflect anywhere on that. So great job, Herman.
Thank you.
Yeah, and a very interesting point, Ronak, you did say that the cultural fit is also so important, but we said we're going to challenge that, right? And this is something Wise does it. We are so much here about the poverty of experiences, the poverty of expectations, and that's exactly what we want to make those things a thing of a past, right? Yeah. And yes, that was important because, he had some very tricky Indian names on his menu, and how do you learn that, right? So but kudos to you, you did it. So now, Herman, you can see, right? Like as Ronak mentioned, always sharply dressed, and I've had conversations with Herman. When Herman first started with us, he actually started with us with an impact project and how Herman actually grew. But I think so, Ronak, you can tell a lot more about Herman's growth since he started working with you.
Right. So when Herman came in, he was a little shy, right? Last month or a couple of months ago, he bought a new car, and he drives to work now, right? And that's amazing. The other day, I was standing outside, and he drove in, and I saw him like reverse parking in the car. I was so proud of him. Like the confidence that he has, it's amazing, right? And like I said, the team now, like they don't think that there is any kind of disability or any kind of. He's like just integral part of our team. And what I see, like what I try to do is to train him into other areas of the restaurant, like on the fryer or online or on the salad station, right? These are the things that he's going to be moving forward, being trained to do all that stuff. And I'm sure he's going to pick it up really quick too. Yeah, so I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, absolutely he will be. And why should he not, right? Why should he not? And that's what we really need to focus on. It's not about your disability, it's about the ability. It has to be strength-based, guys, and that's what we really need to focus on. Having the skill training, which is an attribute to the already existing abilities, interests, and preferences, are very, very important if we truly want an inclusive economy. So, Herman, you smartly dressed person.
Yeah.
What do you think about your job and your boss, Ronak?
Well, I think Ron is a good guy. I find he always makes jokes. As for the job, I do love the job, yeah. I come every day on time and leave on time, yeah. The pay is good, and I always get the task done, yeah. And I always try to keep the restaurant organized and clean, yeah.
Good, yeah. You take a lot of pride in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And what has changed for you since you've had this job?
Well, first I used to be a little bit shy, but now I'm more confident, and now I speak more, mostly more communication. Yeah.
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 Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Herman. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Garnet, Vishesh, Ronak. I can sit and talk to these guys forever, and I can tell you so many stories, but I think so. I do need to have more conversations let happen, right? So thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I can come down.
Some questions. I still have some. So first and foremost, thank you so much to everyone who's just shared their stories. You can see it's not easy to There we go. You can see it's not easy to be up here on the stage and get vulnerable about your experience. But the one takeaway that I just got from that experience is that this is not just creating job opportunities. This is literally transforming lives. The ability to have the independence of having your own vehicle, drive into work, and have a boss figure, an employer, say that they're proud of you for what you're able to do simply because you were afforded the opportunity to show yourself. Bring your full self to work. That's really important to me. Another thing that Garnet said that I wrote down here is we're not hiring people with disabilities. We're hiring people with unique skill sets to get the job done. I love that framing. That should be a bumper sticker for everybody. Okay? Yes, exactly, yeah, 100%. But another big takeaway from this conversation was these individuals are coming job ready, skills ready. And I think that's the biggest thing is people assume persons with disabilities may not have the on-job experience to really get the job done. Well, when you work with different organizations like WISE, UNITI, you can really know that they're being trained to have the right skill sets to at least get started. And then for you as an employer who is out there, then you show them the ropes of your corporate culture, right? We have to fill those gaps. We have to show them how it is that we do business and work here. So I do want to talk a little bit about the research here because you're probably wondering, what exactly is the new inclusive economy? So the new inclusive economy conducted a survey back in October of 2022, which 87 respondents, employers and entrepreneurs in BC, they considered themselves inclusive employers. And they found these key indicators for the inclusive employment. So among those respondents, 72% of those surveyed used disability-friendly recruitment processes. 55% said definitely, and 17% said somewhat. But 72% said that they use this as part of their system. That's really, really important. And I realize I'm turning away from my microphone, so I want to make sure. So with all of these statistics in mind, keep all of these things in mind. Oh, I actually do also want to mention the other statistics. So 47.5% of respondents said DEI declaration statements are actually included as part of their process. And 17% said that they share it. They share it, the statement publicly. Okay. And then lastly, 17% of respondents indicated that disability inclusion is central to their mission. Okay. We can probably get those numbers up, right? But the point is that those organizations that really were part of this study really showcase the benefits that we're seeing. So now my question to those who are on the panel, and this is specific to the employers. So I would basically, with regards to this statistical information, do you declare publicly your inclusive hiring practices to those who are employers?
Yeah, we do. Basically it'd be great to have something to put on our website. That would be a great idea. But we do, yeah, we've been part of this for 3 years. And I like to think that WISE, the company we work with, steers us in that direction. So, for the most part, we do.
Great. And Bandara Cafe?
Yes, same with us. Like I was talking to Anirudh the other day that I wanted to hire more, and we want to set up interviews with the new batch as well. So I'm looking forward to getting that in process too.
That's great. And actually, I can tell you that as an accessibility consultant, one of the biggest benefits that I've seen is not just having a diversity inclusion statement, because to be quite honest with you, that seems to be the hot button thing. Everyone's like, I have a DEI statement on my website. It shows that I'm inclusive, and now my job is done, right? I've made the statement, so everybody will come. No, you have to show that through your corporate culture. You have to live what it is that you're saying in those statements. So the both of you today, you're living that by having employees that are coming here today saying that it has been transformative for them. And so it's not just words on your website, and it's not just a public statement. It's how are you actually changing your processes to make this a way of life that others feel as though they can follow it, right? So something else to include in terms of statistics from the study is that they interviewed 15 employers and entrepreneurs from BC, and they found that the following things. So individualized and flexible approaches, which was also a key factor for entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals. So that really helped out. openness, honesty, transparency, and empathy in their daily relationships, and in their orientation, that everyone has something to bring to the table, and we're meeting people where they are, right? So not everybody with a disability is going to present the same challenges or the same abilities, and so we have to meet people where they're at. So now my second and last question here is actually to the employees. So I'd like to ask the employees, what do you feel your employers do best from this list? So when you think about what your employers are doing, would you say that they are individualized and flexible? Are they open, honest, transparent? Maybe can you speak to some of that? Yeah.
Can you say the question again?
Yeah, so based on this list that's here, in terms of being individualized approach, being flexible with you as an employee, being open and honest, is there a couple of things you'd want to highlight that you really feel your employer does best when it comes to supporting you on the job?
Well, I think they do teach me everything mostly, and I try to memorize it every day, and I try my best to do my job and not to mess it up.
Oh, I'm sure you do fantastic. No, I'm sure you do fantastic.
Thank you.
And that's the thing, is that this has to be set, the tone has to be set from the top. This can't just be an HR initiative checkbox. I say this a lot. If people just assume you're doing this as part of your HR practices, they'll just say, okay, they checked the list and they said it's done. But if the senior leaders at an organization truly believe and they get behind this movement, that's where we're really seeing the change. What about for yourself at PartyWorks? What would you say your employer does really well in terms of supporting you?
So it's like a teamwork.
Maybe if you could speak into the mic a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So just like teamwork and hard working, and so we work as a team, and like if I need any help or associate, so just ask.
Fantastic. No, that's great. And lastly, do you feel like there's any kind of upward momentum that as a result of your support at PartyWorks or at your location, that because of those skill sets and because of the fostering of inclusive environment that you've created, that you could see upward momentum for either of your employees? Maybe we'll start with you at Bandara Cafe.
Yeah, so with Herman, right, like the confidence that he has is amazing, right? And he's like the good thing about it that he's very eager to learn, right? That is like he's not sitting back, okay, this is like, what are you doing? I want to learn this, I want to do this. He wants to learn more. That's the amazing thing. And as an employer, I think I'm doing the right thing if he has that attitude towards his work, right? That he's learning more.
And as you mentioned, he's very sharp dressed, so I want to get the name of his tailor so that I can look as good when I'm out here doing my job. And what about yourself? PartyWorks?
Well, with Visage, it's kind of tough because he makes popcorn and cotton candy, and he doesn't really want to move up from there. But he's just showing incredible amount of ability just to do what we ask him to do. We're moving him up to these big, huge special events. He just seems to adapt to whatever we throw at him, and sometimes we're really busy and. You know what I really admire about him, he'll come in and we don't have to have somebody babysitting him. He knows what he does when he comes in on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and he just does it. So again, for us, that's huge, because he's basically trained himself with some of our help, but he knows what he's doing, and it's a great asset for us.
100%. Well, I don't think we could say it much better. So thank you very much for coming up here and being brave to be under the spotlight, literally. So that's fantastic. You can all now return back to your seats, and we'll invite our next speaker up to the stage.
Just wanted to thank Lenny for getting yourself here. Great job. I really appreciate it.
Wow. Oh, wow. There we go. That's awesome. Wow, thank you so much. I mean, listen, we've only really been up here for, 20 minutes there with regards to the panel, and look at all you're able to unlock through very short conversations. Really, really powerful stuff, and we are truly creating ripple effects that are changing people's lives. And so with that, I want to invite our next guest up to the stage, and that's Scott Johnson from the Holiday Inn Express Metrotown. Now, Scott is the general manager at the Holiday Inn Express Metrotown and has worked in the hotel industry throughout Western Canada. And throughout his career, Scott maintained a commitment to communities that he's lived and worked, including being the chair of the Richmond Tourism, and after several years of being a board member. And he's also a member of various committees, including the Davie Village BIA, the Vancouver Hotel Association, the Carnegie Community Center, and the Advisory Design Panel in Whistler. Wow. Scott has also worked to contribute to communities. Scott and his company are still new to the inclusive employment, and they're in the early days of their learnings, but he has some of those learnings that he'd like to share here today. So let's give him a warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Marco. As Marco said, my name is Scott Johnson. I'm the general manager of the Holiday Inn Express at Metrotown, and just wanted to share a little bit of our experience and learnings along the way. We're a fairly small hotel. There's 100 rooms, and we have about 30 employees, including our management team. 3 of these employees are persons with disabilities. They work in our front desk, our housekeeping, and our breakfast department, alongside other team members serving our guests and fulfilling various job duties. To us, they're enthusiastic, dependable, and willing team members that make a great connection with our guests and with their workmates every single day. Our journey actually started with an ongoing commitment to provide hospitality practicums and work experience to university, college, and high school students. Through that process, we met several students, high school students, that worked with us for several semesters. These students were assigned tasks and responsibilities which they performed each day. All of these students were autistic and were supported in our workplace by school personnel. Along the way, we connected with Canucks Autism Network, which has a hospitality training program, and with Work BC, which has a number of workplace training and support programs. The main lesson of our experience that I wanted to share with you today is that the process to being inclusive is easier than you may think. There are various supports in job coaching, in orientation, in workplace modification, training for your managers and for your workforce. 2 phrases that we learned along the way were accommodation and long-term support. And recent research suggests that 54% of employers believe that the biggest obstacle to retaining these employees is an inability to provide flexibility and accommodations. And I'm here to tell you not to let this prevent you from taking this important step. Accommodations can be rather simple, jointly agreed upon by employer and employee, and can be changed as time and circumstances require. I've brought a few of our accommodations that we have with our employees here to share with you today. And I do want to just mention that each employee has their own individualized accommodation plan. And I'd just like to go with the first slide. So one is training and learning goals. Training and learning will be delivered in ways to assist with processing new details and learning new tasks. This includes short, simple instructions, assistance with reading new instructions and training pieces, modeling and repetitive practice of new tasks. A visual learning style will be assisted by providing pictures or videos of new tasks where possible. Number 2. Scott will be provided a mentor within the breakfast bar team and within the management team who will be available for Scott to approach with questions or concerns. The mentors will work with to ensure that Scott is included in social events or social occasions occurring in the hotel. Mentors will be provided regular training and coaching on autism in the workplace. Number 3, lifting weights over 25 pounds. Scott will be exempt from duties that require lifting objects, such as guest luggage that's in excess of 25 pounds. The hotel will provide alternate processes or instructions to Scott to carry out tasks that require lifting objects that exceed 25 pounds. long-term support is about providing support for the challenges that your employees may face. These may take the form of ongoing training for all employees, workplace modifications such as physical changes, or procedural changes such as break times that are adjusted to accommodate the employee's needs. I now want to talk about how you can get started. I highly recommend that you become a workplace experience employer. Offer your local organizations opportunities to place students and others on a practicum to gain valuable workplace experience and training. Schools of all levels, Canucks Autism Network, and your local WorkBC or UNITI office are all looking for work experience opportunities. Don't be afraid to ask for support, they have it. Start with 3 or 4 work placements per year in order to get comfortable with the process. And just as a comparison, our hotel averages between 30 and 40 work placements per year. Number 2, believe that being inclusive is a worthwhile goal. Believe in it for yourself, believe in it for your workforce, and believe in it for your customers. We identified 2 important values to us that made it worthwhile for us. Number 1, we believe that making the community in which we operate better is an important goal. We also believe in removing physical and other barriers that prevent full use of the hotel for our guests and for our team members. Number 3, take small steps. You know your organization best. Brainstorm with your team and your support personnel. Look at your hard-to-fill positions. What accommodations are needed to fulfill those positions? And lastly, I encourage you to get started today. Thank you.
So I just want to say, I'm really moved by the fact that you're working with so many different individuals with disabilities and you try to work on these placements. Maybe just, this is totally an unscripted question because I like to put people on the spot. No, that's okay. It's totally fine. I would say out of the list that you just gave of things that people can do to get started, what was most surprising for you as an employer that you thought previous to this, ooh, that's going to be difficult. But then once you actually started going through the process, you discovered it was a lot better or easier than you would have assumed.
So both the high school students in the Canucks Autism Network have exposed us a lot to autism that we didn't know about before, right? And we had opportunities to work with students through COVID. Most of our students were high school students. A lot of people didn't want to come and work during COVID and be in places during COVID, but they were able to. Yep. And we saw a lot about individuals. And prior to that, we may have grouped them. Right? And because we had an opportunity to be with them for a length of time, we were able to see them as individuals with individual skills and abilities. And because we saw the work that they did, we knew that they could fit in our hotel and that they could help us be successful.
100%. Yeah, and then it goes to show you that I gather from what you just mentioned that really working with those disability service organizations meant that you didn't need to be the expert at knowing everything, but it probably felt great that you knew that there were experts that were out there that you could lean on so that if new discoveries or new adaptions needed to be made, that it's something that was easily done through conversation and that you weren't doing it alone.
Absolutely. And all of the organizations, as I mentioned, they provided support to us, not only in training our managers and our employees on what to expect and how to help our employees, but also in teaching us how to issue instructions differently. Right? And you don't know that until you're in it, right? No. And they've been very helpful with that for us.
Yeah, one thing that I've heard from those in the autism community is if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, right? There's a reason why they call it a spectrum, is that everybody, and I think also applies to a lot of people with disabilities. Just because you may think that you understand what somebody's going through doesn't necessarily mean that they're going through the same challenges or opportunities as anyone else. And so that's why it's good to have that individualized support and approach, as opposed to just lumping everybody into a category.
Absolutely, and you know, one of the things I came up as I was preparing for this and talking to my management team, and every employee I have is different. Whether they have a disability, they don't have a disability.
That's right.
Every employee I have has their own challenges in their life or what they in the work. Every employee excels at different things. It's no different with employees with disabilities, and it's a matter as an employer. It's your job to figure out and take advantage of the skills that your employees have, and we learned that from very early, and it's no different for individuals with disabilities.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. Really appreciate it. Thank you. So, as we say, thank you so much to Seema, Renak, Garnett, and Scott for sharing your stories as employers. It's really, really a fantastic kind of set of learnings. And also, it takes a lot of courage to come forward and say that you took an opportunity. You may have been taking a shot in the dark. You didn't know where to start, but you trusted the people that you were working with, that they could help guide you through the process so that it was a little bit easier. And now I'm going to turn the hot seat over to the audience a little bit. And that is, this is your opportunity to ask those questions that has been burning on your mind from the panelists and the speakers that we've heard today. We do have somebody on the team here that's going to run around with a microphone that you can open ask. And then I ask maybe if the question is directed to someone specifically, if that individual wants to at least stand up if they're able to, so that they can be seen by everybody in the audience, as opposed to just getting everyone back here up on the stage. So now's the time. Do you have a question? Yes?
I don't really have a question, but I have a statement, I guess, of what it is. I'm an employer, I'm a developer in Richmond, developer in Wally. One of our employees, he's been working with for 6 years. We didn't realize he had autism. He's probably one of the brightest project managers we have. But all of a sudden, we start thinking about, all these sort of conversations come into my life and saying, how come he works so hard? He has, I think, 5 degrees.
Wow.
And he works like nobody else does. And it's only then I realized that actually he has autism. But for me, it wasn't autism. I thought he had special talents. So it's all how you look at it sometimes as to, is it disabilities or special abilities?
Yes.
So I looked at him like, I even had a meeting with my entire team. I said, guys, please do not pick on him because sometimes they used to pick on him. Oh, wow. Because he has very little verbal communication skills.
Gotcha.
So when he gets together with a group of people in a meeting, he has difficulties. Because once it was pointed out, he actually has special abilities. All of a sudden, the mood changed in the entire company towards him as well. So just wanted to share. So it's not disabilities, it's abilities.
Fantastic. Yes, that's fantastic. Does anyone else have any questions for our esteemed panelists? Yeah.
This is to Scott. Scott, as a general manager of a Holiday Inn Express, there's a lot of Holiday Inn Express partners around the Lower Mainland. Are all of them doing what you do? Are they bringing in students with disabilities to work in their Holiday Inn Expresses as well?
Every hotel is an independent owner and independent franchise under the brand. I do know that as some of them are working with the Canucks Autism Network, I think mainly because I've encouraged them to do so, right? And I've made a connection with them. But I'm sorry, I don't know the details. Because again, they're individual properties, right?
Awesome. Great. I hope that answers your question. Anyone else have any questions for our panelists? And this could also be for the employees. Yeah, go ahead. Get the mic over to you.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, just got a basic question for everybody. Let's just say engineering firm wants to hire someone who has special abilities. That's how I like to refer to them, with special abilities. Is there an app available that I could go to that could save time for the employer and the employee, so there's not any disheartening, for a person being rejected? Is there an app available that I could assess the skills?
Gotcha. Skill assessment. That's a great question. Yeah, please, if you know of something, for sure.
I think I'm living it.
You're good.
Yeah. I don't think we have an app, but great idea. We will be developing an app.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
But
great.
If you want to hire somebody from us, and I think Minnie was in the room too, yes, we can give you our cards and you can definitely connect. We will be more than happy to welcome you, to visit you. But you gave a very bright idea. We will be developing an app.
I don't know if you literally just plugged an app that was not being created and now it is, so that's fantastic. One thing I will say as a consultant, something that I know that you may want to check out, this is totally unsolicited a plug here, and that is accessibleemployers.ca, as well as Hire for Talent, HIREFORE talent.ca, has resources that small, medium, and large-sized businesses can download PDFs on how to develop your inclusive strategies and get started. I helped to develop all of the resources that you see on accessibleemployers.ca. I also wrote the entire toolkit section on accommodation. So I can tell you firsthand experience that the people who write stuff there know what they're talking about. No, but in all seriousness, no. The reason that those sites were created was to remove the financial barrier to employers of saying, well, we just don't have the budget to learn how to hire people with disabilities. All of that was funded by the government of British Columbia, as well as across Canada, the government of Canada for Hire for Talent. And it's to make it easier for you to have access to job developers, various disability service organizations that could help you throughout the process and the journey. So I also want to give them a shout out because I'm sure that it's helped people to find UNITI as well throughout the process. Does anyone else have any final statements or comments? It doesn't even have to be oh, yeah, go ahead.
Just to add to Delvin's question, so one of the things that we do on our website is we have job seekers profiles. So you can have a quick snapshot of who they are, what their accomplishments are. But if you don't find anybody there, you can always get in touch with us and we can find out somebody who might be a good fit for you. Thank you.
And yeah, no, that's great. And one of the things that I can tell you that drives me crazy from caseworkers or case support managers of days past is they get somebody that comes into their office saying that they're looking for work and they happen to be somebody with a disability. And then the next thing they do is they approach any employer they can possibly find and just start blanket statements of, we have exactly the right person for you, simply because they're trying to make sure that they land that. Try to rethink that. Try to actually get to know the people that you're working with. If you're a case manager, if you work with case managers to bring it in, and question them on that. What makes them the right person for me? Have you looked at the job description that I'm actually looking for and the talent I'm looking to fill? Let's not cast a wide net on people with disabilities and just say, perfect, we can get them in that blanketed statement or that blanketed position that we're looking to fill, and just because that person's looking for work. Make sure you're trying to match that job opportunity with the right person for the right role. I can't stress that enough. Because the next thing that's going to happen is if you match somebody up in the wrong role and it doesn't work out, you're going to automatically assume, oh, hiring with people with disabilities doesn't work out. That may not be the case at all. It may be that you didn't take the time to actually get to know that person to ensure you're putting them in the right position to be successful. So this is unscripted. This is me just saying this as a person with a disability and somebody who cares about the work that I do. I really want to see our economy grow, but I want to see it done in the right way. And the only way we're going to do that is by unlocking the skill sets and talents that we know are available with the right skills, the right training, and the right mindset. So thank you very much. Just before we close out today, I do want to say that we have some of our research team members here today that were part of the new Inclusive Economy. That's our co-hosts, the Downtown BIA. Thank you very much. Surrey White Rock Chamber of Commerce. Of course, the Surrey Board of Trade, thank you very much, and the City of Surrey for hosting us here today. So that pretty much concludes us. I do want to say there is still tons of food. So don't walk away. We were all talking about how much we love food, Indian food especially. I'm all for that. But please enjoy the food that's been prepared for you today. I do want to say that on your way out, please visit the info table for local resources. If you're considering inclusive hiring, we do have that. The next stops for this project is actually going to be in Cranbrook on Monday, June 5th. And I kind of giggle because my wife and daughter are in the back of the room somewhere. I just heard my daughter calling my name somewhere. Oh, there you go. So my 2-year-old daughter is also here seeing Dad work, which is also nice for our next generation to see that. But my wife and I actually are the accessibility consultants for the city of Cranbrook. So there we go. A little shout out to Cranbrook there. And that's happening on June 5th, the next event, followed by Prince George and Terrace and Smithers the week of June 12th. So you can see we're certainly going across the province. I'm not the host in every location, unfortunately. I'm a resident here in Surrey. But if you want to follow along on the progress of how this is going, learn more about the research, you can visit newinclusiveenconomy.ca, the website. And that's going to have all the progress of what's going on with this movement, how you can potentially get involved, and what you can do within your community to become an inclusive employer. So thank you so much. I've been Marco Pasqua. Please stick around, ask questions. Let's talk for a little while. Thank you.